time, I'd like to call this meeting of the Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholders to order. Please rise for a moment of silence. Dennis, salute the flag, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Margaret.
Notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-10, has been complied with and shall be entered into the minutes of this meeting.
Roll call.
Freeholder Barrett Belante. Freeholder Delina. Freeholder Polos.
Here.
Freeholder Rios. Freeholder Tamaro.
Here.
Freeholder Valenti.
Here.
Freeholder Director Rafano.
Here. Proclamations.
We have two this evening. The first is recognizing September 2012 as Alcohol and Drug Addiction National Recovery Month in Middlesex County, and the second is recognizing September 17th through 23rd, 2012 as Constitution Week in Middlesex County.
Okay, I believe Freeholder Valente is going to present the first proclamation.
We're very fortunate in Middlesex County to have an outstanding agency which has the leadership of a great individual that is here tonight to receive this proclamation. And this has to do with substance abuse, which is a very serious public health problem. And in 2010, 2.6 million people received treatment for a substance use disorder, while 20.5 million did not. And whereas resources exist in our community to increase awareness about how substance use disorders affect children, families, and our society, which is essential in overcoming misconceptions and achieving long-term recovery. Whereas it is critical that we educate our community members and local businesses that substance use disorders are a treatable yet serious healthcare problem. Treatment can reduce reported job problems, including incomplete work and absenteeism, by an average of 75%. And whereas cost and insurance barriers present obstacles to those who need access to treatment facilities and want to reestablish their place in the community. By recognizing the financial savings associated with treatment, services can be readily available to those who need assistance. And now, of course, this is proclaimed by our Freeholder Director, Christopher D. Rafano, of the Chosen Freeholders of Middlesex County, to hereby proclaim September 2012 as Alcohol and Drug Addiction National Recovery Month. And we call upon the citizens of our county to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies supporting this year's theme, Prevention Works, Treatment is Effective, and People Recover. And this is being adopted tonight. And I want to make this presentation to Steve Liga, who is head of a fantastic agency that's working every day, long and hard, for many years to combat substance abuse. Steve, we're very proud of your work. Would you like to say a few words? Sure, just a few words. Okay.
I always want to say a few words. Come on. Thank you, Freeholder. It's just as much a pleasure to work with you, and it's truly wonderful. People hear about addiction all the time, and if I'm looking around the room, we've got 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, there's probably at least 3 people in this room who have or will experience addiction at some point in their lives. And if you look around, there's no way you could tell which ones they are. Just as importantly, or perhaps more importantly, is the fact that there are people in this room who are also in recovery from an addiction, some long term. And you can't pick those people out either. And I think that's a really important thing to highlight, that addiction does not discriminate. It could be any one of us, and recovery is possible for all of us. If you want to see some more folks in recovery and talk about celebrations, I would encourage you to think about coming to Philadelphia 2 weeks from Saturday. It's a National Recovery Walk. There's going to be about 15 to 20,000 people in recovery marching in Philadelphia, anywhere from 3 days to 33 years sober. Highly recommend it. We've got a bus that's leaving from Rutgers Student Center. If you're interested in coming, it's free. I'll leave a couple of my cards over on the side if you're interested. But I'd love to have you down there. It's something to see when you've got 20,000 people celebrating recovery together. So, thank you very much.
Member of the resolutions?
We have a few this evening. First is recognizing the Milltown Rescue Squad on its 75th anniversary. Next is recognizing former South River Police Chief John Bouthelette on the occasion of his retirement. Next is recognizing Dr. Sonia Deora of Garden State Physicians for her dedication to her patients, which saved a life. Next is recognizing the members and coaches of the Metuchen Rovers as they won the United States Youth Soccer Association National President's Cup Championship. And last is recognizing Ryan Carlucci and Patrick Carlucci of Boy Scout Troop 53 as they have achieved their Eagle Scout Awards.
I need a motion to adopt.
Motion?
Motion by Freeholder Valente, seconded by Freeholder Tamaro. Roll call, please.
Freeholder Polos?
Yes.
Freeholder Tamaro?
Yes.
Freeholder Valente?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rafano?
Yes. I'd like to ask Chief Bouthelette to please come up. I still can't say former. I've known the chief for many, many years. I live in the borough of South River. He was the chief of South River. We've been friends for, that's right, a long time. Sometimes we haven't seen eye to eye when I was on the council in my town many years ago, but but we've maintained our friendship, our mutual respect for each other. You may not remember this, but about 12 years ago, there was a shooting in South River, and John was shot in the line of duty, made a full recovery. But I remember when that happened. The only thing that I wanted to do was to get to see you, and I made a point of coming to see you at the hospital, and it was important for me to do that. But I'm proud that he was my chief in South River. Proud that he's my friend. John? Margaret, please read the resolution.
Whereas it has come to the attention of the Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholders that John Bouthelette was honored for his retirement as Police Chief of the Borough of South River on Friday, July 20th, 2012 at the Grand Marquis in Old Bridge, and whereas John Bouthelette began his career in law enforcement in 1986 with the South River Police Department as a patrolman, and through his hard work, dedication, specialized training, and education, moved up the ranks. Prior to becoming chief, he completed an intensive training program at the FBI National Academy that selects 1% of law enforcement officers in the United States to attend. And whereas John Bouthelette has many accomplishments and programs that were created during his tenure, but one of the programs he takes most pride in is the creation of the education program that fosters an atmosphere of safety, community, and respect among students, educators, and parents. And whereas John Bouthelette has received many awards through his career, including but not limited to the Purple Heart Award, Citation of Valor, Medal of Honor Award, Outstanding Police Officer Award, and Combat Wounded Award. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Middlesex that we do hereby commend and thank John Bouthelette for his many years of dedicated service to the residents of Middlesex County, and particularly the residents of the Borough of South River.
John?
Thanks. Appreciate that. Thank you.
First and foremost, thank you very much, Director Rafano. You are a true friend. Always have been. We go back many years. And you definitely were an asset to Borough South River. and still continue to be that way, and I appreciate that. Unexpected for you to honor me, but I appreciate it. I'm humbled to be here tonight to accept this. 26 years dedicated service to the Borough of South River. I'm very proud of a town I love so much and had the ability to serve them the capacity as a police officer. I started there in 1986 as a patrolman, made it all the way to chief, and I am just so proud to be a member of the law enforcement community here in Middlesex County. I have retired from the job as chief of police, but my law enforcement career hasn't ended. I've had the opportunity to become involved in the Valor Program. Valor Program is a program established by Attorney General Eric Holder, which is designed to teach officers how to survive on the street. It's situation awareness, decision-making skills on a national level. And I have been tasked and asked, and I've done it for the past 4 or 5 months, is travel throughout the country speaking to officers on how to survive on the street. I have a little experience in that, as Chris alluded to 12 years ago. I was shot in the line of duty and I survived. Not a hero, I'm a survivor. And I go across the country right now on behalf of the Department of Justice, speaking on those skills I used that day to survive that kind of event. And I'm pretty proud of that program. Again, I am so proud. My being here is twofold. One, to accept this. I also have the privilege to introduce you to the new Chief of Police in the Borough of South River, Chief Mark Tanigan. We're standing in the back. Raise your hand, Mark. Mark has been handed the torch. He is also a fellow graduate of the FBI National Academy, so he represents the top 1% of law enforcement in this United States of America, which I'm pretty impressed by, being a graduate of the same academy myself. And I know that he will lead that police department in the right direction. Again, thank you so much for the honor. And Chris, thank you so much for speaking. Thanks so much.
Correspondence.
Each freeholder has been provided with a list of correspondence received by the clerk's office since our last meeting. This correspondence will be kept on file in the office of the clerk of the board for reference.
I need a motion to accept the correspondence.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Freeholder Valenti, seconded by Freeholder Tamara. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Reports of freeholders. Freeholder H. James Paulus.
Thank you, Freeholder Director. A few items. Last week I participated in a fire radio communication exercise. It was a very elaborate exercise that was put together by the fire marshal in the county. Involved our OEM staff as well as our consultant with associates to put together a test of our communications capabilities, and it was again a very well orchestrated examination of what our capabilities are. They were throwing some hurdles, if you will, up against those who were participating purposely to test the strength of our communications network. So it was a great exercise. About a week prior to that, you may have read about a parking deck collapse in Woodbridge. Our county forces responded to that as well to assist the locals there. Luckily, there was no death as a result of that collapse, but it's good to know that we have personnel in our county who are trained for those kinds of specialized rescues, confined quarters, hazardous buildings, and so forth. The individuals who we call together as our task force are highly trained in that. They specialize in that. It's not something that they're often called to, but how comforting it is to all of us as residents to know that if, God forbid, we were involved in something like that, those who are coming have particular expertise and training in that area. So compliments to the local forces as well as our county forces for their response to that event. On September 22nd, we will be having a wonderful event at the Brunswick Square Mall. It is going to be our first County Emergency Services Day. We'll be displaying our county equipment, quite a bit of it I might add, that we have through our hazardous materials units, our OEM, health department. There is quite a bit of sheriff's department, our law enforcement agencies will all be involved in it from the county. We'll be displaying some of our hardware, some of our equipment, vehicles, but more importantly also being able to interact with the residents to make them aware and understand what services we have, what we can provide. I think it's a great venue. It's obviously going to be a crowded day at the mall and a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to interact with the public and tell them what we're doing. Several weeks ago, actually a couple of months ago, we unveiled a distracted driving initiative, as the Freeholder Board knows, in cooperation with East Brunswick and Old Bridge. And I believe at the next Freeholder meeting, Freeholder Director, we're going to be making some formal presentations on the outcome of that event. But I could give you a slight update. We have issued approximately 600 to 700 summonses, so forth. And again, these are not summonses that people have to pay. These are summonses that are warning notices, if you will, that allow them an opportunity to go to a special website that we created and view a specific video on distracted driving to understand the true nature of what they're doing and the pitfalls of that, the injuries that could occur to them and others as a result. It's a very powerful video. And if they view that, answer certain questions, they're actually given a warning notice. If they don't, they actually receive the fine from that local police department. East Brunswick and Old Bridge, and I know I speak for Joe Crizza, who really helped to orchestrate it, have done an outstanding job. They've taken this very seriously. They've done a wonderful job in exercising it. And I think you'll see the results of that when we make the presentation at the next Freeholder meeting. But I wanted to give you a little preview of what might be coming, so really compliments to all of them. And what was particularly telling, and I'm going to share some of them at the next meeting, those who participated in it and went onto the website had an opportunity, although not required, to comment about what they saw. And I have to tell you that, and without exaggeration, probably 1 out of 3, if not 1 out of 2, were very powerful messages to us about how important this was for them to go through, how important it was for them to see the video. There were grandmothers who said they were going to have their grandchildren look at it. Parents who said they were going to have their spouses look at it. So the message was real, and the feedback was extremely positive. So I think we're in the right direction, and then we'll be reporting on the second phase of that initiative at the next meeting. Last but not least, well, there's 2 quick things, and then I'm going to go to a quick presentation with the board's indulgence. I know people love these, so I'm announcing them. September 8th and September 14th are our paper shredding days. On the 8th, it's in North Brunswick from 9 to 12 at the Babbage Park. And on the 14th, it's going to be at Thompson Park from 9 to 12. If you have any papers that you want to get shredded, you're concerned about your own personal security and ID theft, it's a wonderful opportunity to do that at no cost. And probably our most famous event is the Household Hazardous Waste Drop-Off. Has everybody been to one at least once? I know I have. That's going to be on September 15th, and that's going to be held at the Woodbridge Public Works Yard on 225 Smith Street from 8 to 2, again on Sunday the 15th. The last item, and Stacy, I appreciate your assistance, really comes as a warning. This has been a particularly difficult year when it comes to health issues pertaining to the West Nile virus. As I'm speaking, and my remarks are not necessarily linked directly to each photo that you see, but there's method in our madness here. We wanted to give you a good pictorial, and for those of you who will be watching this, hopefully on television, to give you an idea of the kinds of things that you need to be concerned about as residents and business owners in our county when it comes to combating West Nile virus. To be very clear, and I don't think I'm overstating it, it is a war that we cannot win against this dreadful disease, which is a killer disease. It is a killer disease. We need to emphasize that if you contract it. It is a war that we cannot win with county forces or local forces alone. Without the hands-on cooperation of every resident, the hands-on cooperation of every business owner, every commercial property, it is again a war that we cannot win. The fact is that the breeding of the mosquitoes that can carry West Nile virus can be bred in small containers of water, a small cupful. I've heard that there are mosquitoes now which are called tiger mosquitoes, which come out during the day, so I don't know if everyone's been bit during the day, but there are actually a breed of mosquitoes. You know, we always knew that when the sun went down, after 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, you go inside, that's when the mosquitoes come out. Well, that's old news. The new news is that there are mosquitoes now that can bite you during the day. They're called tiger mosquitoes, and they are infesting our county. They're throughout the state. So if you've gotten a mosquito bite during the day and wondered why, now you know. These mosquitoes can breed in something as small as a cap full of water. A cap full of water from a soda cap. So it is important, and I can't stress this enough to our residents, that you go into your backyards, dump out the planters, the saucers that sit underneath planters, any child's toy that might be collecting water, old tires that you might have near the garage and that are collecting water in the base of them. Anything, anywhere on your property that can be collecting water is a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Now, the county does an outstanding job through the Mosquito Control Commission of taking care of large bodies of water, detention basins, retention areas. They'll grade, they'll clean, they'll do lots of major work. But clearly, you can't expect us to go into every person's backyard and empty out every cap full of water. So the responsibility really lies with the residents. If we're going to combat this virus, the potential for this virus and this mosquito infestation, the only way we can do it is with your help. If you think that you may have been bit by a mosquito that might have the virus, there are some symptoms, flu-like symptoms, and mostly fever, headache, rash can occur, fatigue, nausea, vomiting, swollen lymph nodes. These are some of the signs of what happens if you're infected with the virus. If you feel as though you have any of those symptoms whatsoever, even if you don't have them all, you should go to a physician and get checked and see what's going on. But the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I'm stressing this so much tonight is our health people, our mosquito control people have made it very clear that this is a season that we need to be fearful of. It is a season that comes on the heels of a very warm winter, a very wet opportunity that's been created in the last couple of months. So the breeding is taking place in our county as we speak, and without your help and cooperation, we won't be able to fend this off. So I hope some of the photos gave you an idea of the kinds of things that maybe you wouldn't normally think of when you think of going out in the back and trying to clean up wet areas. But be creative, look in every nook and cranny, because again, they don't need a whole lot to be able to breed. And with that, I think that's the conclusion of my report. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Charlie Tamaro.
Thank you, Director. First, I want to open up by announcing, which I did at the last meeting, the dedication of the Middlesex County Greenway, which will be Saturday, September 15th, Middlesex Avenue in Metuchen, which is right by the Burl Hardware. This is a project that's been long in the process of becoming a reality, and a lot of people got to thank, especially our Freeholder board, for moving this project forward. I know I've been speaking to a lot of different people about the trail, and there's a lot of positive coming from there. As a matter of fact, you got to have post signs, watch the deer. You know, they have the deer signs, because there's a fawn, there's a doe and 3 fawns hanging right by Middle Avenue, and they just walk on the trail and don't even pay attention to the people walking. Also want to announce, too, that our Middlesex County Career Academies were once again top in the nation and the state. The Academy for Science and Mathematics, Engineering, and Technology in Edison, for the 4th consecutive year, was named the nation's best schools by the U.S. News and World Report, which evaluated 21,766 schools in 49 states. For that, they won a bronze medal. In the New Jersey Monthly magazine, which ranked the Edison Academy 4th in New Jersey in its first survey of the state's vocational high schools. Inside New Jersey magazine, a publication of the Star Ledger, ranked the Edison Academy number 1, and the Academy for Allied Health and Biomedical Sciences in Woodbridge was ranked number 2 among all Middlesex County public schools. The Woodbridge Academy graduated its first class in June of this year. The Edison and Woodbridge schools are career academies designed for students with strong academic skills who plan to pursue a college education. They provide a challenging curriculum and a technology-infused structured learning environment. For more information, contact our county VOTEC schools and our superintendent, Brian Laughlin, at 732-257-3300. At our Cultural and Heritage Commission and New Jersey Council of Arts and Department and State of Local Arts, we were awarded a $163,864 grant for the fiscal year of 2013, which the county required a $45,000 matching grant. The state did. Programs and mini grants to support established groups and emergency art groups, encouraging artistic excellence. We also provided technical assistance and workshops to strengthen local groups and assure ADA compliance. We also received a $17,353 grant, which required a $5,000 match for our folks and art programming. Our New Jersey Historical Commission and Division of State Department, a $40,239 fiscal year grant for history grants for 21 of our local groups. At our Extension Service, the Middlesex County Extension Service programs and activities were displayed at the Middlesex County Fair August 6th through the 12th. We answered questions from residents and displayed information on a few key topics such as pesticide use and safety and integrated pest management, water quality and conservation, soil testing and composting. We also surveyed visitors on Jersey Fresh Produce to find out the current views of our agricultural products for Jersey Fresh Produce. Our annual open house and garden field day at Earth Center on Davis and Mill Pond Road was held on August 18th in conjunction with the New Jersey Farmers Against Hunger and New Jersey Ag Society. This was a walk for hunger and lunch provided by the Applebee's and Elijah's Promise to raise awareness and provide support for Farmers Against Hunger for food relief. Hundreds of pounds of produce have been harvested from our Earth Center Rose for Hungry project, all done by volunteers from many schools and organizations. Most of the produce goes to Elijah's Promise, but also is distributed to other soup kitchens and food banks throughout the county. Research continues on our switchgrass bioenergy crop and native grass. It serves as a demonstration site for our farmers and potential use for our county open space lands. Switchgrass also provides habitat for wildlife. And at our workforce department, we have an employer's job fair which will be held in Carteret on Thursday, September 27th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Carteret Community Center, 100 Coke Avenue. Jane, do we know how many employers we're going to have there?
At the moment, 30, but we're still taking.
Still taking employers. So we'll have over 30 employers looking at possible future employees. And then one last thing I'd like to report on or ask to say thank you for is our Resolution 1633, which is going to put a light or go to bid on Woodbridge, Trenton, and Gurley Road. The process started in 2005, and it wasn't the county's fault. It was the township's fault for moving it so slow. But I want to thank the county for finally moving that forward. Thank you, Freeholder Director.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Blanquito Valente.
Thank you, Freeholder Director. From the Office of the County Clerk, we have this information on August 9th. The staff working in the County Clerk's Passport Office took and passed a passport certification refresher training class that was hosted by the County Clerk and conducted by the Bureau of Consular Affairs from the U.S. Department of State. We are proud of their accomplishment as it adds to our rich history of over 50 years providing certified passport acceptance services to the public. Congratulations to County Clerk Elaine Flynn and her staff, Linda Dashuta, Tracy Orr, Lori Van Pelt, and Olga Correa. From our Office of Human Services, Division of Addictions and Mental Health Planning, well, we heard from Steve Liga, but I want to remind everyone that September is National Recovery Month. It celebrates people in recovery from mental and substance use disorders. It lauds the contributions of treatment and service providers and promotes a message that recovery in all its forms is possible. It is critical that we educate our community to understand that behavioral health disorders are treatable and that by treating them like other chronic diseases, we can improve the quality of life for the entire community. Now from the Division of Housing, Community Development and Social Services, on tonight's agenda there are resolutions authorizing the execution of 4 grant agreements with HUD. These programs funded under this plan will bring into Middlesex County a total of $2.8 million for projects benefiting low-income people, the elderly, the disabled, and the homeless. It will also provide for the creation of new affordable housing for our residents through acquisition, construction, rehabilitation, and a first-time home buyers program. The next Middlesex County Veterans Outreach will be held Friday and Saturday, September 14th and 15th, 2012, at the Woodbridge Center Mall from noon to 7 p.m. And that's the end of my report, Director.
Thank you, Freeholder. Mr. Kelso, resolutions to be added?
There are none.
Resolutions to be amended?
There are none.
Resolutions to be held?
There are none.
Resolutions to be voided?
There are none.
Okay, at this point in time, I'd like to open up to the public for discussion on any resolution on the agenda. Anyone from the public on any resolution from the agenda?
I'll move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion by Freeholder Tamara, seconded by Freeholder Valente. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Now we motion to adopt the consent.
Items to remove.
Items to be removed from the agenda and voted on separately.
Yes, Freeholder Director, I have one, Resolution 1611. And that's it.
I have 2, 1638 and 1674.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, now.
Yes, Freeholder Director, a motion would then be in order to adopt the consent agenda consisting of resolution numbers 12-1602 through 12-1712, including resolution 12-1510, which was previously held, and excluding resolutions 12-1611, 12-1638, and 12-1674 to be voted upon separately.
I need a motion.
Motion.
A second.
A motion by Freeholder Valente, seconded by Freeholder Tamaro. Roll call.
Freeholder Polos?
Yes.
Freeholder Tamaro?
Yes.
Freeholder Valenti?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rafano?
Yes.
At this time, it would be appropriate then to consider the resolution which was excluded by Freeholder Tamaro, and that's resolution 12-1611.
Okay, I need a motion.
Motion.
I need a second.
Second.
Motion by Freeholder Valente, seconded by Freeholder Polos. Roll call.
Freeholder Polos?
Yes.
Freeholder Tamaro?
Present, not voting?
Freeholder Valenti?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rafano?
Yes.
And finally, it would be appropriate to consider the two resolutions which were excluded by the Freeholder Director. That's resolutions 12-1638 and 12-1674.
I need a motion.
Yes.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Freeholder Valente, seconded by Freeholder Polos. Roll call.
Freeholder Polos?
Yes.
Freeholder Tamaro?
Yes.
Freeholder Valenti?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rafano?
Present, not voting. Okay, at this point in time, I'd like to open up to the public any discussion on any item. Yes, sir. Remember, there's a 5-minute rule. Thank you.
Hello, Charles Cradaville, Patterson Street, New Brunswick. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today.
Sure.
Wanted to ask for an update on the Middlesex County Bikeway project.
John. George. Or George. I'm sorry, George. One of you guys.
The county bike, you're talking about the Greenway, or you're talking about the New Brunswick Bikeway?
The Bikeway through downtown
Okay.
New Brunswick.
It's almost ready to go. We've had a few problems with getting approval from the federal government, but we think we have those in line. We had to straighten out the financing, and I think that's now straightened out. So the engineering is ready. It's just that the bureaucracy is stepping in the way a little bit. So hopefully by this time next year, the bikeway will be in place.
Has it finished within the next year? Hopefully.
That's a guess.
Okay. And then the other thing I have to ask about, I know there was a rather large settlement that two young men received for, I guess, a mistake made by county police and New Brunswick police. I believe the settlement was $120,000, and I wanted to know how the freeholders feel about that settlement.
Well, the one thing you have to know is in those situations, under a case called the Wright case, the handling of those cases, the decision-making, and the ultimate payment of those, any settlement in those cases, is completely out of the hands of the freeholders and anybody in county government. Under the Wright case, because they involve law enforcement activities, the state of New Jersey takes responsibility not only for the handling and the conduct of the defense of those cases, but the payment of the awards. So they were not handled by the county, they were handled by the Attorney General's office.
So
And they were funded by the state, not by the county.
Okay, so the negotiations and the payment, it all
Has nothing to do
was-
with the county or the county freeholders.
Okay,
That's because of the separation of law enforcement activities versus county government.
fair enough. And irrespective of that, how do you feel about the allegations that were in the lawsuit, and has anything been done to prevent this from happening again to other people?
Each case rises and falls on its own facts. I think all our law enforcement activities are always constantly monitored. I think everybody is proud of all the activities of the Sheriff's Department, the Prosecutor's Office. Cases arise, cases are settled. I don't have any idea what the Attorney General's Office decision-making, sometimes it's economic. So I don't think it's fair to really ask them how to respond to a particular case.
I think it's very fair. This is work that's being done in the name of the county with county sheriff's officers. You're the elected officials of the county. People are saying they're busting down the wrong door and beating them up in the middle of the night. I want to know what your response is as elected officials. What is being done to prevent this from happening to other people?
I can say on my behalf, I'm not fully versed on all the facts of that particular case and what occurred. And I think Mr. Kessel's response is the appropriate response at this point. I mean, it was handled by the Attorney General. settled by the Attorney General. They felt obviously that there was a need to settle it at whatever the number was that you indicated. It's beyond our control.
Well, it doesn't have to happen again, and I'd like to hear from any of the other elected officials.
Yeah, I think the Freeholder Director mentioned we don't have details of really what occurred. We probably have the same accounts and newspapers that you were reading, so we really see it as the end result of the settlement. No one really was given any details or specifics as to why the settlement was occurred or what the details were of the situation. On a general basis, not specific to this issue, no one ever wants to see anyone make a mistake or to make a judgment in error. Clearly, I think that that's certainly appropriate. I don't think anybody would be comfortable with that. But we don't know the specifics of this issue, what occurred, why, or why the settlement occurred. But certainly in a general sense, I think that we would share your same concern. If someone was erroneously selected or erroneously their home was erroneously entered into, I don't think anyone would like that to occur, clearly. But we don't know the facts with respect to this, so it's hard to speak about this specific case.
Is there an investigation?
An investigation?
An internal investigation into what happened and if anyone needs to be reprimanded or any policies should be changed?
I don't know that, to be honest with you, because the situation occurred quite some time ago, so I've not been privy to the facts since I've taken over public safety, whether or not an investigation did occur, internal investigation with respect to it, but it's certainly something we could find out and share with you.
Very much
Not the
appreciate
results of it, but certainly the fact that one occurred.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public?
I'm Salam Ismail. I'm the National Director of United Youth Council Incorporated. I've been here a few times before. The Center for Disease Control this past January, I believe it was January 13th, along with the American Medical Journal Association, psychological, it's about maybe 4 different major study groups that came out in January jointly and urged policy declaring violence a public health crisis. Center for Disease Control says 6,000 young people between the age of 16 and 24 would die by way of homicide. In our great state, at least one person died by way of homicide every single day in New Jersey. I had a friend who had a child that worked at the Pathmark in Old Bridge. I was in Maryland watching TV. CNN came on. And CNN talked about a shooting at this Pathmark in Old Bridge. The first thing I did is call my friend and find out, because I know his kids worked there, but his kid didn't stop working there for whatever. A lot of kids that go to school work at that Pathmark. And he said, no, my son's not working there anymore, but I know the kids that there. You know, 1 or 2 of the kids that there. And I said, wow. So I got back just a few days ago and, of course, met with my staff, and just to see how hard they've been working on you guys about the resolution, as you passed a great resolution dealing with the drug and alcohol, which we support. And many other states have done this in similar situations. 6 counties had joined on and declared violence a public health crisis. Our county, the one I'm from, in Union County, have also formulated a task force on violence. And I got a phone call coming here and said, Ocean County, hooray, just established a task force on violence. Now, when I came to you before, I talked about, identified some cities like New Brunswick, Perth Amboy, Carteret, and Edison. People, community folks have been dealing with the issue, whether it's gang-related or whatever. That young man, 23 years old, was going through some stuff. He said that his mother died and he just went through a thing. And he flipped out and went in that Pathmark and started shooting. For no reason, just started shooting, just lost his mind. In many occasions, that happens on our city streets over and over again. and become now a culture, as many are experts. I'm a counselor, I'm a trained counselor. I'm celebrating 30 years of being a youth and family counselor. This thing is serious. It's a disease. I'm meeting with some senators tomorrow. That's how serious, and people getting on this, to move towards a state legislative resolution, and probably some public hearings. A couple of weeks I'll be going to Camden County and a few other counties that feel the interest to join on board. There's going to be at least, probably in the next few months, at least 6 more counties, which makes about 12 counties be on board. Now, some of my fellow counties, like Mercer County, Essex County, Union County, asked Salam, why have you not gotten Middlesex County on board? I don't know. Maybe they know something that many in the country, including our great president, has said: violence is a public health crisis. We should take our responsibility. Those kids have a right to live. Even that sick one that went inside that pathmark and killed them other 2 children. But if we sit idly by that it's not a problem. Now, we're not doing our job, particularly on a county level, because you guys have resources, you have the apparatus to put together county task forces, to put resources of various different groups together like we're doing in our county and union, and begin to examine this problem and do preventive kinds of efforts to try to prevent what happened in Old Bridge. Let's don't see it happen again, folks. Let's don't go idly by and take this and just forget about it like it's not real. It's real. And young people are dying around the country because this sickness. That boy was on Facebook. There's many kids on Facebook thinking violence is the way to go. I speak at schools all the time, and they tell you about, how they deal with their anger. They're frustrated, they're outraged. It's not just black kids, Charlie. It's not just poor kids. It's all kinds of kids. Violence is a culture among our young people. And if we don't begin to start taking our responsibility, just as much as you did gracefully to pass a resolution on the drug or alcohol national thing, we need to do that here. I'm going to keep coming back.
Thank you, sir.
Until you get brave enough to join in like other counties have and declare violence a public health crisis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion by Freeholder Tamara, seconded by Freeholder Valente. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Freeholder Valente, seconded by Freeholder Tamara. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.